In the 13th century, the world trembled under the thunder of Mongol hooves. From the steppes of Mongolia to the edges of Europe, the empire forged by Genghis Khan expanded with a ferocity unmatched in medieval history. Their army, disciplined and terrifyingly efficient, crushed kingdom after kingdom, until the Mongols became the largest contiguous empire the world had ever seen. Cities fell, civilizations vanished, nations surrendered without a fight. Yet against all odds, a kingdom in the heart of Europe, Hungary, would rise from ruin and become the nation that blocked the Mongol advance forever. This is the story of how Hungary fell, how it rebuilt itself brick by brick, and how it became the European kingdom that stood firm against the most powerful military machine of the Middle Ages. Europe on the edge of a storm. In the year 1241, Europe was not a unified continent but a patchwork of kingdoms entangled in political rivalries. No one was prepared for the wave of destruction that approached from the east. The Mongols, led in Europe by the ruthless Batu Khan and the legendary strategist Subutai, invaded the region with a precision that stunned all who witnessed it. Poland was ravaged with terrifying speed. Its cities burned and its armies defeated. Parts of Germany and the Kievan Rus lay in ruins. Across the land, rumors spread of an unstoppable enemy who moved like shadows and struck like a thunderstorm. For Hungary, these rumors were not distant echoes. They were warnings of what was coming. The kingdom stood directly in the Mongols' path, and its fate would determine whether Europe survived the invasion or collapsed entirely. King Béla IV desperate warnings. Hungary's ruler King Béla IV was one of the few European leaders who understood the magnitude of the danger. He called upon his nobles to unite, fortify the kingdom, and prepare for war. But Hungary, like many European states, was riddled with internal divisions. The nobles resented centralized authority and resisted Béla's reforms. Some believed the Mongol threat was exaggerated. Others were convinced Hungary would be spared. As these debates dragged on, the Mongols continued to advance. By the time the devastation of Poland reached Hungary, the kingdom was far from ready. Although it possessed large armies and strong cavalry, it lacked unity, strategic preparations, and modern defenses. Hungary's strengths, which had once made it a power in Central Europe, now became weaknesses against an enemy unlike any seen before. The Mongol invasion begins. The Mongol assault on Hungary began early in 1241. Their armies swept across the borders with a terrifying combination of speed, coordination, and tactical brilliance. Villages were burned, towns were emptied. The countryside filled with refugees fleeing westward. The Mongols struck from multiple directions, confusing Hungarian forces and destroying communication lines. Europe's traditional military strategies, heavy cavalry charges, rigid formations, heavily armored knights, proved useless against the Mongols. The invaders used feigned retreats, sudden ambushes, and continuous volleys of arrows to break apart the Hungarian formations. They moved faster, fought smarter, and adapted instantly to every situation. The Hungarians, though brave and determined, had no experience with an enemy who could fire accurately from horseback while galloping at full speed. It was clear that a decisive battle would determine the kingdom's fate. The Battle of Mohi, a catastrophe for Hungary. On April 11, 1241, the Hungarian army confronted the Mongols at the Battle of Mohi near the Sajo River. King Béla IV and his commanders put forward their strongest forces, hoping to halt the Mongol advance. The Mongols, led by Subutai, executed one of the most brilliant military plans in medieval history. Under the cover of darkness, they surrounded the Hungarian camp, launched simultaneous attacks from multiple directions, and trapped the Hungarian army with a deadly combination of arrows, siege weapons, and coordinated cavalry charges. The Hungarian soldiers fought valiantly, but they were overwhelmed by the sheer precision and discipline of the Mongol forces. Thousands were slaughtered. The battlefield became a wasteland of shattered armor, broken weapons, and fallen warriors. The Mongols had won a decisive victory. The road to Hungary lay open. Hungary in ruins. Following the victory at Mohi, the Mongols spread through the countryside with terrifying efficiency. Towns were set ablaze. Castles crumbled. Families hid in forests, caves, and mountains. King Béla IV fled westward, narrowly escaping capture multiple times. The kingdom that had once been a regional power was reduced to desperation. Many believed Hungary was finished, but destiny had other plans. The death of the Great Khan, a moment that saved Europe. In December 1241, thousands of miles away in Mongolia, Subutai Khan, the Great Khan and supreme ruler of the empire, died unexpectedly. According to Mongol custom, princes and top commanders had to return to Mongolia for the election of a new leader. Europe was suddenly no longer a priority. The Mongols withdrew from Hungary almost as quickly as they had arrived. It was not a victory won with swords or strategy, but it was the lifeline Hungary needed. Yet the kingdom was broken. And now came the true test. Could Hungary rise again? Béla IV, the rebuilder king. The king who once struggled to command loyalty now had a nation begging for leadership. Béla IV returned to a devastated Hungary, but he refused to surrender to despair. Instead, he began a reconstruction so ambitious that historians would later call him the second founder of Hungary. Béla understood that Hungary had fallen not because of a lack of bravery, but because of outdated strategies and internal divisions. So he rebuilt Hungary with three priorities in mind: strength, innovation, and unity. He began by fortifying the kingdom. Before the invasion, many Hungarian fortresses were made of wood, no match for Mongol siege engines. Béla ordered the construction of stone castles across the land, especially in mountainous regions where the Mongols struggled to maneuver. These fortresses became symbols of resilience and unmatched defensive strongholds. Béla also repopulated the country. He invited settlers from across Europe, Germans, Slavs, and others, offering land, protection, and privileges. This influx revitalized the economy, filled abandoned regions, and created a diverse and loyal population willing to defend the kingdom. But perhaps Béla's most important reform was military transformation. He studied Mongol tactics and adapted Hungary's army accordingly. He introduced lighter cavalry, more mobile units, and improved archery techniques. Instead of relying solely on heavy knights, Hungary evolved into a flexible and dynamic fighting force. The trauma of the Mongol invasion had united the nobles as well. Internal feuds faded when they realized survival depended on loyalty and cooperation. A new Hungarian identity emerged, one forged in hardship and built on determination. The Mongols return and meet a new Hungary. In 1285, the Mongols returned to Hungary, determined to succeed where they had failed decades earlier. But the kingdom they encountered was completely transformed. The new Hungary was fortified, disciplined, and strategically aware. Mongol cavalry found themselves trapped in mountain passes, repelled by stone walls, and harassed by fast-moving Hungarian units who used tactics inspired by the Mongols themselves. The invaders could not break through. They could not advance. They could not adapt as they once had. Hungary not only resisted the Mongols, it inflicted heavy losses and forced them into retreat. It was one of the few lands in the world where the Mongols experienced a true failure. And after this defeat, they never again attempted a major invasion of Europe. Hungary had done what many thought impossible. It had stopped the greatest army on earth, a legacy of courage and transformation. The Hungarian stand against the Mongols reshaped the future of Europe. Other kingdoms studied Béla IV reforms, learning the importance of strong fortifications, mobile armies, and unity in the face of external threats. Hungary's remarkable recovery demonstrated that adaptation, not tradition, determines survival. King Béla IV leadership turned destruction into rebirth. His vision transformed Hungary from a defeated nation into a fortified power that even the Mongols could not break. For this reason, he is remembered as one of the greatest rebuilding monarchs in European history. Hungary's triumph is not merely a military story, it is a testament to resilience, courage, and national unity. It shows that no matter how overwhelming the enemy, a determined people can rise from the ashes, rebuild stronger than before, and change the course of history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's most remarkable victories, make sure to hit that like button. It helps us bring more legendary stories to life. And if you want to continue exploring forgotten empires, untold battles, and the rise and fall of the world's greatest rulers, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. This is History Brought to Life. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next journey through time.